One of the major issues gripping America today is, of course, the war in Iraq. It's kind of a quagmire right now, and the next president is going to inherit that as one of the major problems. Do you think that maybe a Democrat will be seen as sort of soft on the war? Either one of you would care to respond to that?
Not so much soft. As in the 2004 election, I think we needed a Republican candidate to continue where we were. But I feel as though every day we get more, we sink a foot deeper over there. And I feel as though it's only detrimental. As much as I have voted conservatively in the last elections, I feel as though what we need to, make our country, to kind of finally get us out of there is a Democrat. And we need somebody to pull us out of there, and they may seem soft, but I think America will be easy on them. They're not going to be, bash them, because it's something that the majority of America feels as though that we need to do. We need to get our soldiers home and, kind of release that section, our history.
You don't think they'll be seen as a cut and run?
Personally, don't think they should pull them out, right away. I think they need to look at what are the other options they have and what they can do, and try to look for the the best possible reason and reasoning behind what they're going to do, and give the country a speech on why they're doing this, and they need to be upfront with us, because many have been just feel as though Bush is not giving us every bit of detail that we deserve to hear. So they just need to be upfront with us, and I think America will be accepting.
What do you think the consequences will be for pulling out all of the troops at one time?
I think that it would just sort of collapse Iraq into even a worse state than it was with Saddam.
I agree.
You would have a dictator who would probably rise to power in the same sort of way that Saddam did, and you're just starting the problem all over again. It's
there are so many outside government groups that are waiting to bounce on that leading that area, and it's just. That's the one thing is I feel as though if they were to pull anybody out, pull all the troops out right away, it's going to be nothing but detrimental to everything we've put for the last how many ever years, So they need to pull out some, keep gradually, doing that, but also getting more information on what's going on, and kind of needing to maintain that, because we've started something that is, in the end, I think is going to be more beneficial to Iraq. It's just, it takes so much time, it takes so much effort, and it almost kind of seems as though it's been on for how many ever years, and it's going to just continue leading on, but eventually things are going to get positive. I think you just need to go about it in the right manner.
Do you think the next candidate needs a firm exit strategy to get elected? Because no one's really talking about that right now. I mean, it's still early yet, but do you think they need to say, this is what I'm going to do, and show America the plan? Not yet.
They need to have an idea, not a firm concept of what they're going to do exactly, but they need to have an idea. But until they're in the presidency and until they are over in Iraq, or really in holding that position, I don't think they're going to really know what's truly going on.
But don't you think that the American people not necessarily have a right, but they should know what they're voting for?
Well, yeah, obviously they deserve to know that. I mean, that's one of the main issues in America today. But like I said, they need to have at least an understanding of what's going on. They need to have a plan of action, what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because what is the approval rate of taking our troops out of their 80+%? It's ridiculous. It's such a high amount. So as long as they give us kind of like, not an exact detailed, map of day-to-day process of what they're going to do, but how, gradually if they release troops and they gradually just the way their manners they go about it, I would feel that's sufficient enough, And
I also think it's very important for whoever the next presidential candidate is to have a plan of action, a very strong plan of action of what you're going to do over the next 5 to 10 years, or for your presidential term with this war in Iraq. I think it's going to be a little over the top just to say we're going to pull all of our troops out, we're going to bring them home, so on and so forth. Because in order to do that, I think everyone right now realizes that it won't be a good idea just to pull the troops home. But to have a plan of action, a step A, B, and C, which is going to be very difficult to come up with, but very possible to come up with. The next presidential candidate, that's an obligation. to have, I believe, not just to get the vote, but to make sure that it is implemented properly when that person gets voted in. I think that's the main issue right now in America.
And we look at other sort of foreign policy decisions like North Korea. That's another it's at the boiling point right now in Iran and Lebanon and Israel. I think the next president should be very well versed in foreign policy. I mean, not that we don't have domestic problems, which we obviously do, but those are something which could be like serious, like, world ending.
World War III.
Not really, and
causing.
I mean, as soon as, if we're not done with Iraq soon, we could have a major or even bigger problem with North Korea very soon. And we could have two problems on our hands. And then as soon as we pull out of Iraq, whenever that happens, we could be just getting into some, some issues with North Korea that could be potentially fatal to the country. So it's hard. It's a hard issue.
Go ahead.
I definitely feel as though foreign policy is something that needs to be stressed completely. Just that is something that probably needs to be one of the main focuses on, what their plan of action is, because we legitimately have World War III, not now, but it's possible, it's feasible down the line. And, that's something that if you go about foreign policy in the wrong way, we're going to come off as America trying to rule the country, or rule the world. What you really need is a fair plan of action, something that will make, that will show America in a positive light, but not look as though we are trying to conquer, the entire world and make us supreme.
And I think that mentality, it's sort of viewed that way right now with the UN. I mean, going against the UN and just sort of all the.
We're so ethnocentric right now. It's unbelievable. There's just the feeling of that, and it's only detrimental to our reputation. How many countries are not fond of us right now? Not a good thing.
Yeah. There are quite a few against us. And what about Afghanistan? I mean, that sort of got pushed into the back ever since we started with Iraq, but we still have a lot of troops over there. And it's like, that's another, and that's in the Eastern Asia there. It's not looking good.
It's a work of progress. It's something that's going to take decades, honestly, to truly accomplish. Like, everything that we want to or wish to, and many things might not even be feasible. What we need to really look back and step back and kind of take a look at what do we have in our plan of action that is honestly feasible. Because there are many things in this world that U.S. thinks we can somewhat control, somewhat have a place in it. There might not be. And
our troops are spread so thin the way it is. Do you think that a troop surge would work to sort of finish the job in Iraq, or do you think that's just going to add more problems?
Personally, I feel that would help accomplish, but America will not be fond of that decision whatsoever.
Not at all.
No.
I mean, let's say you surge. I mean, you add another, however many troops, but you get it done, 2 years before. Wouldn't that be a good trade-off to do? I mean, it's a tough sell to the American public.
It is.
But
well, you have to ask yourself, I mean, they constantly are adding troops more and more a day. It doesn't have to be a big mass number, like a draft or anything like that. But they are sending more and more troops out all of the time. And you have to ask yourself, how much quicker is it getting done over there now, at the pace it is now, as opposed to just, increasing numbers. I think there's a job that needs to be done over there. I'm not quite sure exactly how it's going to be done, but then again, I'm not running for president. So when it comes down to it, I think that adding more troops could be a problem and a solution, so to speak. It can help out on both sides of the scale, but you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that action, because I think that there will be some problems that comes with it. But there could be potentially a good solution that comes out of it as well. So it's a heavy decision to make. Especially
with other countries dismissing their troops from Iraq and whatnot, and that's just, I feel as though them doing that just encourages us and encourages people, watching the news occasionally that are like, oh, they're pulling out their troops. Maybe that's what America should do too. And I don't necessarily feel that's the correct thing to do. So it's kind of hard when you have all these other countries doing that. So you kind of feel like you're forced. America's forced to do that.
Well, the other countries are pulling out, not as many troops. I mean, we have a lot more troops over there than these other countries that are pulling out. That's all the time we have for today. Rick Daniels, thanks for being on.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
And that's all for this week of the Political Forum.